I find that clients who are looking to get their first client often have some misconceptions about what is required in order to do that. You don't need a website in order to get your first client, and you definitely don't need a big following, but there's a lot of other things that you do need. Don't try to get your first client without having these things, all of which I'm getting ready to get into right now. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things, and I've been doing this for quite a long time. In fact, I've been online since 2009, technically since 2007, but I started my blog on Blogger, if you remember Blogger. Shout out to those of you who had a Blogger blog way back in 2009, and that snowballed into the business that I have today. But I got into coaching in 2014, went full-time in my coaching business in 2016, and I've been doing it full-time ever since, now full-time with a team. But none of this would have been possible had I not learned to land my first client. And I love working with clients, particularly inside of my coaching programs, to really show them how to get their first client and how to get clients consistently. However, I find that clients who are looking to get their first client often have some misconceptions about what is required in order to do that. And so I wanted to do this video to kind of clear those misconceptions up, because I see a lot of people also on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever bragging about how much you don't need in order to get a client. Oh, you don't need a website to get a client. You don't need this to get a client. You don't need a big following to get a client. All that is true. You don't need a website in order to get your first client, and you definitely don't need a big following, but there's a lot of other things that you do need. So don't try to get your first client without having these things, all of which I'm getting ready to get into right now. All right, so just as a little disclaimer, even though I strongly recommend that you have these things in place before you try to get your first client, technically it is possible to get a client without them. But what I've seen is other online business owners, coaches, industry experts, etc., who focus on getting clients before they have these things that I'm getting ready to cover in place, find that they hit a standstill very quickly. And maybe they got that first client, but they haven't been able to get a client since, or they're not able to get clients consistently. So I'm saying, just to keep from demotivating yourself and getting really discouraged, even though it's technically possible to get your first client without these things, I would not focus on that, right? Now, if someone walks up to you and they're like, hey, can I hire you, and you don't have this stuff in place, by all means, go ahead and let them pay you. But if it's up to you and you are looking to actually go out and get clients, make sure that you have these things in place first. And the first of which, that you will definitely want to have in place, is a library of content. Yes, so here's the thing. When I say a library of content, I mean just that. My own YouTube channel is a perfect example of a library of content. Someone who is considering working with me can come on my YouTube channel and they can watch my videos, they can hear my expertise, they can kind of get a feel for what my philosophy and what my principles are in terms of my business. They can get a feel for my personality, my worldview, kind of how I approach life and how I approach business in general. And if that's of interest to them, then obviously they can work with me. Ditto for my Instagram. I have a ton of Instagram content, lots of reels, lots of posts. Again, I've been building my brand for a very long time. Even super old school, if they want to go on my website and look in the archives of all those blog posts that I had from way back in the day, they can do that. They can go on iTunes and Spotify and listen to all these podcasts that I've been recording since 2017. So I definitely have a library of content. Even though you technically can get your first client without a library of content, I do not recommend it, because oftentimes clients are pre-sold before they come to you, because they go through your library of content first. In fact, when I hear people who say, oh, I have such a hard time, closing people on the phone, and people are saying that it's too expensive, or they want to work with me, but then, oh, just kidding, or I need to think about it, especially if they're getting that I need to think about it, I already know that something is off with their content, because that's what your content is designed to do. Really, you need to think about each video that you create, each post that you create, as a little salesperson that goes out before you and really gets the person familiar with you and comfortable with you, and really amps up that know, like, and trust factor, so that by the time they get on the phone with you and they're thinking about working with you, a lot of the selling has already happened, and the phone call is more of a formality to see if the logistics and the pricing works for them. So if you do not have a library of content, but you're out there trying to get clients, I would dial it back a bit and really focus on building your library of content up, because you'll find that it's a lot easier to sell. All right, the next thing that you'll want to have in place is a cohesive visual brand. Again, I know you technically don't need your brand design in order to get clients, but a lot of this, if you can't tell from my philosophy, is I like to make the selling easy, right? I like to build your brand to a place where you really don't have to sell and clients are coming to you. And part of the reason why a cohesive visual brand is so important, one is because it makes you look professional. And we forget that people don't know you. Like, you are digital pixels on a screen, right? Sure, it's a video of a real life person, but many people's only interaction with you is going to be through a screen. And so you're like, I'm a real person, but they don't know that. Like, now they know you're not AI, hopefully, or not an avatar. But what I mean is they don't have a level of comfort with you, because it's not like they can sit across the table from you and, you know, have a cup of coffee and really dig into, again, your philosophy, what kind of person you are, see that you're a person of integrity, all of those things. And so having a very cohesive brand, one, signals professionalism, and also it signals that you have level of resources that can support them. This is something that I don't see a lot of people talk about, but if your brand is janky and your business is just slapdash together, people don't feel comfortable working with you because they're not comfortable that you even have the money to sustain the business so that they can continue to work with you, right? I mean, think about hiring, say, a builder for your house, right? Maybe there's like an architectural firm or a construction company that you want to hire to build your house. Now, imagine if you rolled up to their offices and, you know, everything was disheveled and the branding wasn't together and everything looked like it was hanging on by a thread. You would not hire that construction company or architecture firm to build your house because you're not confident that they're even going to be in business throughout the duration of the project, right? What if they go out of business when your house is halfway built? That would be a disaster. Well, your clients are thinking the same thing. Now, they might not be vocally, you know, articulating this, but this is kind of going on in the back of their mind. And so they want to see that you are a business that is in it for the long haul, and having a really cohesive brand speaks to that. And this is something that I don't see a lot of people talk about as well. Having a cohesive brand really shows that you are in alignment with what you coach on, and it allows them to get a feel for you as a person. So for instance, take me. If I'm out here saying, hey, I can help you build your business, I can help you build, you know, a successful online brand, but my own branding does not convey that of someone who has the ability to do that, there's a mismatch there, right? There's something's out of alignment. In fact, it could even feel like a lack of integrity to your clients. So you wanna make sure that your brand is cohesive, not just from like a design and color standpoint, but that you look like the type of person who sells what you sell and who does what you say that you can do. All right, the next thing that you really shouldn't be trying to get your first client without having first is a compelling story. A compelling story is so important because you are your first testimonial. Literally, if you were trying to get your first client, because you haven't worked with anybody else before. And so I find that we all have compelling stories, but many of us don't know how to tell it. Hint, hint, that's what I teach you to do in depth inside of my program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp, among other things, how to build your business, but we have an entire module around this because it is so important. And so it's not just enough to say, oh yeah, this is my name, this is where I grew up and blah, 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 but you wanna tell a compelling story that has like literally a narrative arc and shows people that where you started and where you've ended up and the journey that you took in order to get there, so that they can see themselves in your story and they can say, wow, if she was able to do that for herself or he was able to do that for himself, how much more are they going to be able to help me? So knowing what your story is, knowing what your narrative arc is, and being able to communicate that effectively is super, super impactful when you are trying to get your first client, because it kind of lowers the risk for them and they feel like, oh, okay, now that I know how you got this result and how you're able to do it for others, I feel comfortable that you can do it for me. All right, I have more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. Are you trying to get your first client? Share in the comments below. All right, the next thing that you absolutely should have in place, like I know you don't need this in place in order to get your first client, but boy, if you don't have this in place, you're gonna be in trouble. And that is predetermined pricing. Too many people just try to get clients and they're almost waiting to see what the client is willing to pay, right? Never get on the phone not knowing what you want to charge for your coaching or for your course or for your expertise, but you would be amazed at how many people do that. They're just so excited that someone is, you know, feigning interest in what they have to offer that they literally don't even know what to charge. And by the time they get to the pricing point of the conversation, they like make something up out of thin air, mostly out of nervousness, because they are nervous that the person is gonna say no or is gonna say that they charge too much, and they end up way, way lowballing themselves. So I probably should have put this as number one, but like one of the number one things that you need to do is you need to have your pricing determined ahead of time. So before you get on a phone call with someone or before you even go after clients, know what it is that you are selling and know how much you wanna charge for it. Write it down and stick to it so that when you get on on the phone, you're not tempted to lowball yourself because you're nervous and you're wondering if somebody is gonna pay that price. Here's a hint. People often receive guidance from you, right? So if you're nervous about the price, they're gonna be nervous about the price. But if you're confident about the price, and you're confident because you did your numbers ahead of time, you determined the ROI, you understand that this is a fair value for what you are offering and the price is the price, when you have that level of confidence and you communicate it, you're that much more likely to get it. All right, this next thing that you need is actually related to the previous point of having a predetermined price, and that is having a sales script, right? So you definitely don't want to get people on the phone if you don't have a proven sales script that is going to help you go through that conversation in an effective way in order to close the sale. And so I find that this is something that a lot of people struggle with. Oftentimes this is like a simple tweak that I've done with clients where I'm like, wow, your branding is great, your product is great, your pricing is great. Why are you not able to close people who are coming to you and saying, hey, I really want what you have to offer? Part of the reason is because you are not operating on a sales script, right? And so I have a sales script that I provide, again, in my program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp, which is proven. This is like a winner. Everybody loves this. Everyone who uses it starts to get results right away. But regardless of what type of sales script it is, you want to make sure that you are using a sales script that is proven, and again, is going to guide you on what to say on the phone until you get to the level where you're confident, and then maybe you don't need it anymore. So at this point, I probably wouldn't need a sales script, or I don't follow a sales script. I don't even do sales calls anymore. I do have a team that does that for me. So when you get to that level, then this is going to be moot. But when you're first starting out and you're trying to get your first client, you definitely need to be relying on a sales script. I relied on a sales script for the first few years in my business, and it made all the difference. I was able to get my first client and then some. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you were on that journey to get your first client, then you need to be in my signature program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp. It shows you how to build a business that attracts clients many times on autopilot, and I give you all the A to Z steps. I show you exactly what I do in my business and really reveal never before seen secrets. These are strategies that I don't even see, my peers doing, and I reveal all of that to you inside of this program. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and click the link below to apply. And if we think you'd be a good fit, we'll invite you for a call with my enrollment team where you can learn more about it. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you loved it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure that you are following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.